Hi everyone, welcome back to Mess on Me. What episode is this? Couldn't tell you, forgot to check before. But hi, we're back. If you're watching the video version, you know that this looks a little different. I'm too hard on myself, guys. Like really hard on myself. And I just need to stop doing that. So it's currently 11:30 p.m. at night. And I'm filming a podcast episode I've been wanting to film forever. But I used to plan out my stuff more, just all around social media, everything, till I realized that it took the fun out of it. And I understand that, like, generally speaking, your job isn't supposed to be that fun. But, like, I just wasn't doing it. So, kind of gotta, I don't know, guys. Like, why do you guys even follow me? Okay? I suck at this. Like, actually, I'm probably the worst influencer on earth. All I have to do is post. All I have to do is talk to a camera, edit it, and post it. I'm genuinely awful. I just hate social media so much, guys. You have no idea. Like, I understand that I'm an influencer, blah, blah, blah. It may seem that way, but I hate it so much. I was talking about this on my spam account on TikTok the other day, which is the only place I post consistently because it's the only place where it doesn't make me want to rip my hair out. Sometimes I will power my phone off for just like hours at a time, or I'll turn screen time on, stop checking social media, because every time I start to like gain followers or a video does well or something, I'm like compulsively checking the comments to see what people are saying, and it's so unhealthy for me. Like, genuinely the worst thing ever for my mental health. I am a very sensitive person, unfortunately. Whether or not it comes across that way is a completely different story, but I am a sensitive person. I have really bad RST. When you have a lot of people messaging you, it doesn't really matter if it's like 50 good ones. It only takes like one really like mean one to kill your mood and give you horrible anxiety. Just kill your mood for the day. That's just like not good for me. And I want to be able to read my DMs and stuff, but it's gotten to a point where I just can't anymore. Like, I can't open them at all. Kill my vibe for the entire day. I realized I put so many expectations on myself that most people who don't even have neurological disorders would even put up on themselves. I think because of the fact that I am smart, and I know that to be true, I expect myself to be able to operate and function in a certain way. A really competent and successful person who has a lot of drive would be able to. My capacity of sensitivity and the way that I feel this world is just so much. Like, it's just too much for me sometimes. I don't know how to describe it, honestly. Like, I just put so many expectations on myself that I know I probably won't be able to follow through on. And then I don't follow through on it. And then it's just like this endless cycle of self-hatred, if that makes sense. And it's something that I'm very conscious of and I'm very aware of, and I try to keep it in check, and I try to be kind to myself about it. I don't know why I keep doing it. I keep putting expectations on myself that any other person with the stuff that I have, ADHD, autism, OCD, I would not expect them to be able to do any of it. But for some reason, I expect myself to be able to do all of it and more. If anything, like, I feel like I'm not pushing myself enough. I push off so much in my life out of fear of not being perfect, and it feels like I've pushed off my life as a whole. I've been stuck in this room forever, and I'm tired of it. Genuinely about to have a meltdown earlier because I felt so stuck. I don't know. Happy introing. I don't really know where that came from. Hi. I guess that's the explanation as to why we kind of we're in bed filming a podcast episode, not on like the usual space, but I've also decided that I'm taking a new approach to this because I think that I have a natural ability to formulate words as I go. And I can do it with writing and with speaking, just in general words, if that makes sense. This came to me the other day whenever I wrote an essay. It's called Visiting Earth, the Planet of Shell. But when I originally wrote this, I was originally going to title it The Death of Nuance, right? What I'll do is I'll have a lot of research and stuff, and then I'll just reword the research into the words that I want to say whenever I'm explaining the research that I have. But this time I was like, you know what? Add a little bit of creativity into this. So I was going to title it The Death of Nuance, and it ended up turning into essay about the death of nuance in itself, and how a lot of the times I feel like at being neurodivergent, I'm misunderstood, not necessarily because I am wrong, but because people nowadays, due to anti-intellectualism, can't comprehend nuance. And there's a lot of things that I believe are common sense that aren't common sense to neurotypical. With this realization, it's been a lot easier to unmask a little bit so I don't deplete my energy. And if that means I have to over-explain a little bit, that's okay, but I'll always make sure to ask like clarifying questions and make sure the person understands where I'm coming from. I digress. Sorry, I tend to go on tangents a lot, can you tell? It turned into a kind of satirical essay about the way that my life has kind of played out. And it was really funny, but it also had an element of seriousness to it because it just encapsulated entirely the viewpoint of life that I had and the way that I felt trapped and like I wasn't from this planet, and no matter what I did, everyone would just tell me how wrong I was and tell me how awful I was and all this other stuff. And like I was able to just encompass it all, and it didn't start off that way. It was more of like, I'm just allowing my thoughts to free flow and we'll see what comes of it, you know? And I realized that I can do so much better that way than when I'm fully structuring things. Because usually I'll write each piece of information and connect it using like connecting words, you know? But when I give myself full creative freedom without structure, without anything, and I just allow myself to like kind of burst, it comes out so much better than I anticipate. And I think I've been doing that a lot with the podcast, where I'll limit myself with a certain topic and, you know, hit a few points that I want to bring up, but I have to stay limited to that topic. So what I did is today, throughout the day, I kind of just, where I would usually go on my Sam account on TikTok and like yap about something, I just wrote it down instead in my notes app. So we're going to go through this list today, and hopefully this makes it easier for me to actually sit down and do this more often, because I have creative freedom and I don't feel like I'm boxing myself, because I don't want this to feel like an assignment. I want this to be like from the heart, if you will, you know? I don't know. I want to be laying, you know what I'm saying? But I don't want to be so far. Like, I feel like sorry, if you're not watching the video, that's probably really weird. First topic of conversation is that I hate how much we hate. I feel like our society has normalized this culture of being a hater. And I know that I used to be this way too when I was younger. And I always viewed it from this place of, I don't really mess with people who are mean-spirited. I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, you know what? I'll pray for them. I hope you heal. I understand that people are generally just mirrors to the way their internal experiences are. So if somebody's kind of mean and ugly towards others, it's because they feel that way about themselves. And obviously I don't want to box that into a certain subgroup, because I do know that there's been times in my life where like I've put on a show of like trying to be the kindest person that I could be, but it was because of the fact that I felt so low in life. I remember on my spam account on Instagram, I was posting things like, I can actually pull it up right now. I was not okay. And I was posting things that said like, hi, life's entirely what you make of it. Your perception and thoughts control your reality. Be grateful for even the little things. There's good in every bad situation. You just need to look. Anyone's dislike or anger towards you is a reflection of their own discrepancies within themselves. But also remember that sometimes you're in the wrong, and when being called out for it, you should never immediately take the defensive route. Smile more, not because it makes you attractive, but because it makes you happier and kinder. Pray, talk to the universe, whatever it is that you believe in. Side note, I'd never be one to push religion onto someone. Leaning into a higher power is known to have better effects on your mental health. Just food for thought. Practice gratitude. How are you supposed to let the goodness in your life when you're focused on the negative experiences around you? You can't. Okay, that's all for now. I felt a calling to share. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I hope it helped. Hope everyone has a great week. Be safe and be nice to people. Bye. The song I put to the post is One Republic, Good Life. I'm playing it in the video if you're watching. Like, I was doing so bad mentally, guys. It's been a little over a year since I had that, like, moment that broke me into, like, having a psychological break where I was, like, really, really bad for a couple months. And the thing is, I was really, really bad for a couple months, but you wouldn't have guessed that. I've just never been one to outwardly show the way that I am. If anything, whenever I go through a hard time, I'm overcompensating even more. I'm trying even harder to make it look like I'm not. So I know, obviously, not everybody is the type of person to wear the way that they feel outwardly, if that makes sense. But moral of the story, like, I'm not saying this from a place of like, I think I'm so much better than people who say they're haters or anything like that. I don't have this like moral superiority complex. I've been both sides of the spectrum. I just hate how as a society we've normalized this idea that it's okay to just be so pessimistic and to be so judgmental of the people around you, and to come online and to have these ill-formed takes for 5 minutes of intellectual superiority. Because I feel like now intellect is currency, now that we've kind of moved away from appearances, because anybody can be hot now with peptides, Ozempic, stuff like that, like fillers. All in all, it's kind of easily accessible. So now the thing that everybody wants is to be smart. It's just another one of those waves, you know? And I think that people fail to realize that. So people have these takes that aren't well thought out, and they'll come online, or they'll just like say a random sentence or a hot take or something. Like everybody just wants a take now to seem like they're better than someone else. And it's just so ugly to me. It will always be that, because I can see, and that's the thing, is we live in a performance-based society. So people are always just jumping to have these things. And the other day I went on TikTok and I saw a girl post a video that said, when I see a girl comparing herself to a baby deer and using the word whimsical, and it was like, ugh, like ew. And it just made me like, not even because it hits close to home. I don't care about judgment. Like, I love the word whimsical. I always have. Like, it genuinely is not from a place like that. And all the comments were like, yeah, it's so overdone. And it just to me is like, why are we so focused on policing each other and not focused on how we ourselves can do better? I immediately looked at that video and I thought to myself, actually, when girls around me start comparing themselves to baby deer and overusing the word whimsical. And the audio was like, let's go to hell. Like, as if, talking shit, stuff like that. I do edit it and I posted it privately. When girls post things that highlight their internalized misogyny and superiority complex that's actually rooted in deep insecurity and a need to be seen as different to cope with the fact that you'll never actually fit in. It's something that I've seen a lot is girls who think themselves to be different, if that makes sense, and not like, it's just this whole subgroup, so many different girls who just position themselves in a way to make themselves appear as different because they're so afraid of being called pygmies that they're just perpetuating hate onto another group of girls. And it's all rooted in this performative desire to seem like you're not male-centered without doing the internal work. Another thing is my friend Jazz posted this video about how this whole I hate men thing, like a lot of it is not rooted in genuinely decentering men. A lot of it is rooted in ego power play games and wanting to seem like you don't care and you don't care about a man in order to just get him to be obsessed with you, which is inherently male-centered. A lot of the comments were like, did he pick you yet? And it's the same exact thing me and her have both been posting videos about. And it's just so upsetting to see because it's like, who even needs misogynistic men when you have a world of girls like that? Who needs men judging you for the way that you do things? And when you have a girl next to you judging you because you use a certain vocabulary word too much, because you compare yourself to an animal, because it makes you feel seen, because it gives you like a nice, like, it makes you happy. And I clicked on her profile and it was just very evident that she lacks a lot of self-love just based on her other posts. It's just so sad to me that we've all collectively normalized the ability to come online and post things without thinking. And hey, I post stuff all the time, but I don't think that you should be coming online and you should be sharing your little takes and you should be sharing all this other stuff. I haven't fully healed. Because at that point, you just don't view reality from an objective perspective. You view it from your wounds. You don't view situations for what they actually are. You view situations for what they trigger in you. And until you get to a point where you're able to understand that and where you're able to have somebody come to you and say, you hurt me in this way without you immediately taking the defensive route and also without immediately fawning and just hitting a homeostasis where you can question them, understand their perspective, and see if it's rooted in reality or not, and like come to an agreement and stuff, and if needed, like reflect on the action and stuff like that and take accountability for it. Just this whole idea of like, oh, I'm such a hater, haha, like it's not cute. It only highlights how much of an insecure person you are. And the fact that so many people are so quick to agree in the comments when they probably would have never thought about that otherwise. You know what I mean? Like the video had what, like 500,000 likes or something like that? 500,000 people liked this video in agreement who likely had never even thought anything else of that previously. And they're gonna go out and when some girl does this, just because it makes her happy, they're gonna be like, ew. Not because they actually think it's weird, but because they saw a TikTok with a lot of likes and agreed with the comments. This is why things go the way they go. This is why our world is the way it is. And people are so quick to say things like it's not that deep, but it is that deep. Because whatever you feed yourself is the way that you operate. When you're constantly feeding yourself algorithms filled with hate, you are going to turn into a hateful person. And it's not okay to be hateful. I don't know when our society normalizes this idea that it's okay to be that way. It's just not. It's not cute. It never was. I'm so sorry. I can't do it anymore. I always make this joke. Every day I wake up and I ask myself, where's the love? And you know what? You can blame it on the fact that I have super high empathy autism. You can blame it on that. And I've been called naive for this my entire life. Save your arguments and stuff. But why is it so difficult for people to understand that the way the world operates starts with you? And if you want a less hateful world, you have to be a less hateful person. You can't go around and be upset about the way the world is whenever you're perpetuating that energy out there. What is the issue with a girl comparing herself to a baby deer and using the word whimsical? And then there's other videos talking about like, bring back whimsy. You guys killed it, okay? In middle school, I was the girl who like skipped around and giggled a lot. That's how it was my entire life. I was looking at a bunch of pictures from myself whenever I was little earlier. I was always laughing, smiling, or just like diving out. Like I was generally a very, very happy kid. And until I got to middle school where everyone just nonstop started making fun of me, I just never got jokes, all this other stuff. I look at myself in high school and I was never meant to be a sad person. I never was. And it's just this hater culture that we've normalized that's made it this way. You guys want whimsy. You go out and you buy trinkets and all this stuff, and I'm not judging you for that. That's how you want to find the little joys in life. Do it 100%, but like, you can't go out and hate on people and then try to do the exact thing. Like, how are you going to hate somebody for authentically doing what you're trying to manufacture? Are you following? It's just not fair, you know? And I understand that this world isn't fair. I've gotten to a point in my life now where like, I've just completely stopped arguing with people because I've realized that most people in our world are very underdeveloped emotionally. So they're not actually having a discussion with you over what you're talking about, because they're hearing something entirely differently because they're still operating from their triggers. So they didn't hear it they're not thinking with their brains, they're thinking with their triggers. They're thinking with their emotional wounds or thinking with the childhood traumas they never healed from. So whenever you try to come to them about a certain thing or about like highlighting like, hey, this isn't something that like I really want someone in my life. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Like maybe you didn't realize this. Like I know that you can do better. So I'm just bringing this up to you. It can go one of two ways. It can go like, you know what? Yeah, now that I think about it, this isn't something that I want to be operating from. Or they can double down and even accuse you of being insensitive, of all this other stuff, and pull a bunch of stuff out of their back pocket to make it seem like you're the bad guy now, which is, you know, flipping the narrative. Or be like, why are you inserting yourself into stuff like you don't matter? You know what I'm saying? And I've gotten to a point now where I'm like, oh, dope, I don't need you in my life. I'm very strict about the people that I have in my life because of the points that are so low that I hit, trying to keep people that I loved in my life for the sake of the fact that I love them. But if there's anything that I have learned, love is not enough for me. Being the way that I am, somebody can love me and still not understand me. It takes a certain type of person to actually be able to understand me automatically. And it's someone who has done the emotional work, somebody who knows themselves well, somebody who doesn't operate from their triggers. Because I'm always going to trigger the people around me because I don't fall into these societal like norms, this social rule book. It's not embedded into my brain. I didn't get that. So I operate from a very like what the essay I wrote on Substack was all about. You guys can go read it if you'd like. If I try to argue with somebody my point, all it's ever going to do is make me look worse because for somehow, some way, everything I say comes across wrong. And no matter how much I try to fluff it up and try to explain what I mean, the person's never going to hear it because they're purposely misinterpreting what I'm saying so that they can weaponize it against me. So any word that I speak can therefore be used against me. If that makes sense, you know, it's like a courtroom, essentially. And then I have a bunch of people talking badly about me, all this other stuff. And I've come to a point now where I'm like, I don't care anymore. I've gone approaching 2 years now of not being really close with anyone in my life, feeling kind of like emotionally distanced from people. It started like August of 2024, I'd say. Just ever since then, I haven't really felt a sense of community within a group of people. And I've had individual friendships and stuff like that, but I've gotten to a point now where I don't feel the need to fight for my position in people's lives. I'm gonna stand where I stand, and whoever comes and wants to be a part of my life can. They have to meet a certain standard, and they have to have a certain willingness to understand me, because I'm not going into psychosis trying to fight to be loved again. I'm not. I'm never going to deteriorate my mental health trying to keep and fight for the people that I love to love me back. And when you hit a point like that in your life, it changes so many things for you, because I really was such a lover before, and I still am. I have a lot of love in my heart to give. I truly do. I love loving people. It brings me genuine joy to express how much I care about the people that I care about. But that's something that people take advantage of so quickly, and it's, you know, a lesson that I've had to learn so many times, I feel like. Not because I was refusing to integrate the lesson, but because I walk into generally everything with the viewpoint of, why would they do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, just the way that I view reality, I do not view it the way that it is. I always forget that people have ulterior motives. I always forget that sometimes people say things and they don't mean them. And sometimes people say things to keep peace. Sometimes people don't say things to keep peace. People are very, very disingenuous in our world, and it sucks. I've come to a realization in my life that all of the people I've ever had close to me, all the friendships that I had, all the relationships that I had, I was never a person to them. I was more of like entertainment. I was funny, I was eccentric, I was different, manic pixie dream girl in a sense. And I didn't realize this could also be the case in friendship dynamics. So I'm coming to a point now in my life where I realize this is the first time I'm experiencing genuine friendship. And it's so weird. It's so different. And I had to work on this with EMDR therapy as well, because of the fact that my friends just like a lot of times in my life will randomly just walk up one day and be like, yeah, we don't like you anymore, when I thought everything was fine. That just created a lot of issues in me, I guess, because it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I can't rely on people too much, because what if they just wake up tomorrow and I'm like, you know what, I actually haven't really liked you for a while now. And it's made me hyperanalyze my friends to see whether or not I'm saying things wrong. And I don't want to be hypervigilant. I don't want to be monitoring them that way. So I'll just outright be like, hey, are you upset? Like, is it okay? No, I'm just tired. Like, I'm good. I'll be like, okay, are you sure? Like, are you sure I didn't say something wrong? Like, and the fact that like, it's so easy for the friends that I have now to be like, Val, it's okay. You're not doing anything wrong. I promise you. And to give me like a full-blown explanation and to really just like map out what's going on to a point now where I don't really operate from this hypervigilance anymore. I don't feel the need to do this stuff anymore. I don't have this fear that I'm going to wake up and my friends are going to like me anymore. And that's what happens when you have good people in your life. You realize that you were never the problem. And I look back now and I realize like I was the jester friend. And I made a lot of jokes about being a jester and stuff like that, but I was never a person to these people. And that's why they were ripped out of my life, because they were not for me. I think the craziest part is that whenever I started getting closer to God, really leaning on him and his will, is when all these people were ripped out of my life. And when it was happening, I thought the world is ending. I'm dying. These are people I've been friends with for years. I'm never going to find friends like this again. Like, these are like my people. But the difference is that I wasn't their like people. They dropped me so quickly. And seeing that put things in perspective. And now that I've really healed, emotionally matured, I see things as they are. I've learned about neurodivergence. I was never a person. I was entertainment to them. And whenever I got on ADHD meds, it kind of, minimized the ADHD stuff. And by proxy, autism was more amplified. They always said, like, Val, if you applied yourself, you could be so smart, all this other stuff. And after getting on the ADHD meds, I was actually able to, like, form coherent thoughts. I was just naturally smarter. Not because I was trying to be smarter, but because I could actually focus on a thought stream at a time, I was called superficial, like I only cared about my looks, all this other stuff, when that wasn't the case whatsoever. Like, I was just talking to my friend Zoe about it over text the other day, because we also had, similar situations. She has autism. These people were never threatened by me because of the fact that they genuinely thought that I was just dumb. And whenever I started displaying traits that highlighted how intelligent I actually was, suddenly I was superficial. Suddenly I was full of myself. Suddenly I was all of these things whenever I had mellowed out. We'd been friends for years, and whenever we first started being friends, I was openly like, guys, I'm so hot. Guys, I'm this. Guys, I'm that. And they would laugh because they thought it was funny. I was their jester. I wasn't their friend. I wasn't a person to them. This group of people, they thought it was entertainment to see how reckless my life was. They saw it as entertainment to see how, like, kind of self-destructive I was. And whenever I stopped operating from these places of self-destruction and actually was trying to put my best foot forward and trying to make something of myself and to mature and to grow up and to stop feeding my energy into these stupid buckets of just trash, they dropped me like they never cared. And these were people that I thought I was going to be friends with my entire life. I thought I was going to, like, raise my kids and my kids were going to call them aunt. It was just so crazy to me to see that. And for me to get mischaracterized so much, it's like, have you guys not known me for all these years? You know that I would never be doing these things. Why is it now that you guys bring these things up? Why is it now that you paint me out to be this way? I don't understand it. And it's because I wasn't a person to them. I was kind of their relief to see, oh, I feel like I kind of suck in this area of my life, but it's fine because, like, at least I'm not like Val. Like, look at Val. She graduated high school with a 2.7 GPA. She dropped 3 classes her first semester of college because she still didn't even know what she wanted to do. And then I ended up getting 4.0, getting an SMU with a scholarship, doing really well for myself, trying to start this phone case company, which my friend literally sat me down in a car ride and was like, I just don't know why you keep investing your money into this stuff that's never going to go anywhere. Like at some point you just like have to like be realistic about stuff and like get a job and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't say anything at the time. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, but having friends now that truly love me for who I am, and they see the true level of intelligence that I have. Brooke tells me all the time, you are genuinely the smartest person I've ever met in my life. And I've met a lot of smart people, male or female, it does not matter. Like, you are number one. The stuff that you tell me sometimes is genuinely insane. The conversations that we have, things that I would never come up with. You need to be surrounding yourself with people who highlight your best traits to you. Because if not, you're gonna keep limiting yourself. I surrounded myself with people who I thought loved me because I laughed with them a lot, who I thought loved me because, have fun every now and then. But these people didn't love me on a soul level. They loved me on a superficial level and on a level of like, you make me feel better about myself because no matter how in shambles I am, it could never be as bad as you. And it sucks because I genuinely thought so highly of all of these people. It kind of just became this dynamic where I've realized like I saw them for the best versions of themselves and they saw me from the worst versions of myself. And it was always, you've changed so much. I miss the old you. That was my favorite era of yours. The era where I was drinking 24/7, talking to men who were not good for me, overworking myself, depressed, having so much stuff in my life going on that was not good. Even being told in the group chat, like I have screenshots where it was like, Val, you like need therapy, like dead ass, like for real, bro. Like what? And it'd just be like a laughing thing. Everyone would just laugh. And it really highlights to you like, please be aware of the people that you have in your life, especially if you're neurodivergent. Had I fought for those friendships like I wanted to, who knows where I would be. But I'd really kind of stuck to this idea of like, if it comes, it comes. If it goes, it goes. And trusting God. And I think that's also just like why God is so important, because he sees the things that you don't see. He knows the conversations that are had when you're not there. It might seem like everything sucks, but sometimes it only sucks because the illusions are being stripped away, and it always sucked. They were just covered by a mask. And looking back now, like, I surround myself with people who push my dreams forward, who believe in me wholeheartedly. Friends who, Brooke texts me all the time, telling me ideas like, hey, I think that you could do this for your social media stuff, like this little thing. And I'm like, that's an amazing idea. Thank you. And then I do it and it's super successful. And this is why I think Christ-centered friendships are so important also, because I got this idea for something that I wanted to do. And then 2 days later, Brooke texts me and she's like, hey, I have this idea that I want to run by you. And then that night we're FaceTiming and I showed her, I was like, by the way, I had this idea and I wanted to show you. She was like, no way, no way. And I showed her the stuff that I bought for it. And she was like, Val, that's the exact idea I was about to text you about. And sometimes God will put an idea in both you and your friend so you guys can work on it together. And that's why it's so important to have, like, it's like that affirmation that it's like God is in the middle of this friendship. It shouldn't just be like Christ-centered relationship. It should also be Christ-centered friendships. My camera died, but I'm back now. Guys, I messed up my flow state. No. Back to what I was saying. That's the importance of Christ-centered friendships. Because if not, I've noticed this pattern, whether it be neurodivergent, whether it be just like different in any way, or whether it be somebody who is a little self-destructive in life. You can fall really easily, or just inherently somebody who has, I don't want to say a naive nature, because I don't think it's naiveness. Like, I don't think it's being naive. I think it's genuinely just being a good-hearted person who views reality better because of the fact that that's how you are. You have a good heart, so you assume people have good hearts too, because it's not like anything else is just foreign to you. Sometimes when that's the case, you're a lot easier to manipulate, not because you're dumb, but because you just have a good heart. And when this happens and you're surrounded by people who don't operate this way, you very quickly become the scapegoat friend. Being the scapegoat my entire life, I know it sucks, because it's like nobody ever wanted to hear my explanations for things. They just wanted to so quickly blame something on me whenever it wasn't really anything to do with me. It was a simple misunderstanding, but they needed somebody to blame because they're not emotionally mature enough to just understand that misunderstandings happen. Everything is very black and white to people who lack emotional intelligence. So they need someone to blame. If you're easy to manipulate, you're going to be the scapegoat, because you're not going to defend yourself because you're so worried about understanding others, if that makes sense. Like, you're very quick to take accountability because why wouldn't you? You know, you don't assume that people accuse you of things that they don't actually believe just because they want to blame shift. And that's the thing with me, is like, I had a freeze or fawn trauma response as a result of this. People always blaming me for things, even if they weren't even about me and they weren't my fault and I had nothing to do with the situation. Somehow something would like end up being flipped on me. Whether it be I was trying to comfort somebody and then while I was comforting them, I said something wrong and then now someone's upset with me. It never made any sense to me and it was so confusing. But this is why it's so important to come to Christ, come to God, like lay everything at the altar and trust that he will come back with twice as better. Because if something's taken from your life when you come to God, it was never for you. And I promise you, the things that come into your life after that sanctification period, after that period of like really just stripping you down of everything that wasn't you, are gonna be so worth it. I've never felt so loved so cared for, so seen in my life, genuinely. Having people remember things about me was such a foreign concept to me. I never really realized people like me were out there. I always thought that I was just doomed to be in this role of like loving more than others loved me. And I don't feel that way anymore because there's this reciprocity within every relationship in my life. I don't feel like I'm texting first. I don't feel like I'm chasing people down to be loved. And there's also a period of mourning, of realizing these people that you loved so much never truly loved you for you because they never saw you. Does that make sense? And it's rooted in the fact that these people don't see themselves. So when people don't see themselves, they can't see you. Everything, their judgment's clouded, everything about them is clouded. They don't view reality objectively because they're not self-aware. So it has nothing to do with you. So all you can really do is pray for their healing because it wasn't personal. Nothing is ever personal. Ever, ever, ever. So never let anyone make you believe that something's personal because that's when you bathe in resentment. And bathing in resentment's only going to rot you away. It's never going to do anything for you. Forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you. Reconciliation is a completely different story. Allowing somebody back access into your life is a completely different story. But forgiveness is never about the person. It is only about you. When you come to an understanding that everybody has a method of doing things because of the way that their life experiences played out, it's so easy to forgive people because nobody's perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. So who am I to hold grudges and to be reluctant to forgive whenever I've also made mistakes? I've also hurt people without meaning to. Did I hurt people from a place in my heart where I was like, I want to hurt this person? No, never once in my life have I gone into something or an action thinking like, I hope, like I'm going to make them pay. I've never been that type of person. I've way too high of empathy for that, unfortunately. Every time I've tried, I've immediately been shot down. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to put on this tough act, but I'm really not tough at all. I always thought that maybe if I put on this front of like being big and bad and all this stuff, that people wouldn't try to mess with me because they thought I was scary. But I'm not scary. It's just a front. And you can't do that because then people who do want to fight, people who do want to attack, people who do want to play those games show up into your life. And you're not well equipped to handle that because you're going to attract whatever you display yourself as. And I was displaying myself to be something that I wasn't, and I attracted somebody who was a mirror to the performance and ended up messing me up so bad because I was never, ever, ever at the level manipulativeness. I was never at that ego power play level. I was never that way. I am an unconditionally loving person. So I never ever thought this person was trying to manipulate me. I never thought this person was trying to do anything to harm me because I would have never done that to them. Everything that I said was face value. Everything that I came forward with was truth. But this person, because they view the world that way, they thought that I was only saying I love them to manipulate them, to get what I wanted. They thought I was only doing certain actions to get what I wanted, but I was never that way. I genuinely just love to love people. So now I just have come to an understanding, like I just need to be myself, and somebody who loves the authentic version of me is going to show up and is going to appreciate that. Because I can't expect someone to appreciate who I am if I don't want to show people who I am. So it might be a little hurtful, and I really did have to kill my ego in order to be myself. I'm a lover. It's who I am. I will never have this die in me. I will never make this go away. I will never stop operating this way. So it's best that I just own it. And it's best that I am just myself, because it doesn't matter if somebody thinks that I'm corny or that I'm cheesy. They just obviously aren't meant for me. They don't operate from the same heart posture that I operate from. So what's the point of having them in my life anyway? And now, like, I used to have friends that thought it was like corny for me to text all the time and all this other stuff, to the point where I started being afraid to text people first. And now me and Zoe have recently become friends, and she randomly will text me like, hey girl, good morning, like how's your day been? Just to check in. And I'm like, this is what it's like to have a friend like me. I remember saying that a couple years ago. I think a Leo Skeppy made a video saying, if you were to be loved by someone like you right now, it would do so much healing for you. And I've been introduced to friendships and people who love like me. And when I tell you guys the amount of healing that I've done from that alone, from being shown that people can show up consistently and I don't have to wait for the next shoe to drop. I don't have to wait to constantly be criticized in covert ways. I don't have to wait for, I just think that like this, if you did this, like, I don't need that because they love me as I am. I feel like a lot of the friendships in my life that I used to have were trying to change me constantly. Everything, like, it was just always this undertone of judgment, and I was so tired of it. Tying back into that sensitivity thing, like, I think I really forget how much of a sensitive person that I am, Because the other day I was at a coffee shop with Brooke. Like about an hour into this coffee shop date, I start genuinely feeling like the walls are closing in on me. Like I can't breathe, like I'm suffocating, like something is like very wrong. I'm like laying my head down on the table. I can't work. I can't do anything. Like genuinely my world is in shambles. I am so overstimulated. And before, people would have just thought like, oh, she's being so bitchy. She's being so mean. And Brooke was like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know. I just feel like, ugh, I just feel so like, ugh. Like I didn't even have the words to describe it because I was so overstimulated. And Brooke goes, untie your halter top and turn it into a tube top. Guys, like I'm like I want to cry just thinking about it. Like you guys don't understand. Like I took off my halter top and I made it into a tube top, and within 15 minutes I felt like I started breathing again. I was laughing again. I was just completely fine. And that feeling of like overstimulation and just like ughness is so overwhelming that you can't think straight. So I didn't realize that I was overstimulated because my halter top was on too long and it was causing me to have neck pain, and the neck pain was like going all throughout my body because I'm just a sensitive person. I have really bad sensory issues. Brooke knew me well enough to immediately know, you're overstimulated. You feel overstimulated whenever you feel closed in. You're wearing a halter top. You explained to me a couple weeks ago how whenever you wear halter tops for too long, you start to feel like it's too heavy on your neck. The fact that she knew me well enough to be like, untie your halter top, turn it into a tube top. Whereas before, like, I would have been overwhelmed in that way. I would have been overstimulated in that way. And my friends would have been like, can you just stop being like so bitchy, Val? Like, here we go again. Like, stuff like that. Like it's just one of those things where you truly, truly see the differences in your life. And you're like, wow. And to be understood for your autism, to have Brooke immediately be like, clock the fact that I was overwhelmed, that I wasn't okay, that I wasn't thinking straight, for her to give me such a quick solution, that genuinely like it just means so much. And I keep talking about it because I don't know, like I feel like I don't have words to give that moment justice, because there's been a couple moments where that's happened. It's stuff like that that's what means the world to me. It's stuff like that I like, it makes me want to like tear up and cry. That's something that I've craved so much my entire life. People can get you material items, they can do whatever, little actions for you, but the deepest form of intimacy is to be understood. The deepest form of intimacy is to be struggling and to be going through something and not have somebody immediately be like, oh, you suck, you're being bitchy. But to see through that cover and to understand what's going on beneath the surface because they know you well enough and they love you enough to want to help you. I think I'm going to end it there. I've been yapping for a while. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I actually really, really enjoyed the way this went. So I think we're going to be doing more like this from now on. Yay! Like, subscribe if you're on YouTube, please. Follow the podcast, Spotify. Subscribe on Substack as well. Follow my TikTok. Follow my Instagram. All the things. All the podcast socials are Mess on Me Podcast. And then all my socials are Valentina Giova. Goodbye!